The way we work with technology is changing very rapidly, and basically the security is lagging behind somewhat. So what we've seen obviously is people working from home more. We've seen greater use of cloud. We've seen greater use of the Internet of Things, which has meant that technology is much more widely distributed. We're accessing it from many different places using lots of different kinds of devices. And this castle and moat approach is no longer fit for purpose. It doesn't work.
If you want to call it the traditional approach to zero trust, actually still had, authentication on entry, right? And once you authenticated, through a two-factor or three-factor authentication model, you were actually sort of in and you were granted trust, right? So what people are trying to do is push it all the way out to the actual human and authenticate the actual human, not the device that you're sitting on.
So ransomware is growing rapidly. So it's almost impossible to know how many breaches there have been in the world.
We did a study last year, and we asked, those of you who have been breached, where has the breach come from? Data shows that there is not much of a difference. So 25% said mobile device, 27% said laptop, and 30% said server. So that's where the network was compromised.
They've been going for schools, hospitals, to a huge degree. So basically looking for low-hanging fruit, looking for vulnerabilities where they can find them and just taking advantage. So we're seeing an increased use of ransomware as a service. So you or I could go onto the dark web without much technical expertise, and we could execute a ransomware as a service attack.
Are we seeing an increase in the number of claims in that insurance sector for ransomware style attacks?
It's a very dodgy area. And usually when people do make a claim and they get money for it, it's for the immediate recovery. It's very rarely for the reputational loss or the liability or even the operational loss associated with it.
Typical security you have on a network is better than that which you get on a phone and an Android or an Apple system. But do you have a view on that? Because it's so many people now using phone kind of devices to access company networks.
Your average consumer, your average individual isn't really conscious of the threats that they're facing, right? So they're not monitoring all the traffic on their devices. They're not, they're going to suspicious websites. They haven't got security controls necessarily built into them. So I think these kind of consumer endpoints are fantastic ways in.
How much welcoming do you think these companies or these organizations, specifically the retail segment in banking, is about welcoming the AI-driven prevention of these cyber attacks?
The technology is moving all the time, but to be honest, it's about policy more than anything, right? So really, to sound cliched, at the end of the day, it is about people and policies. Technology is the source of the problem. It is the problem. It's not actually the solution.